Toxic flames. A factory fire flares out of control in Brisbane South. 5 firefighting units are on the scene and will cross as soon as possible.
Watch and act alert. North HAVERTON residents on guard as fires continue to burn out of control on the outskirts of town.
Finally charged. The man accused of king-hitting our VJ more than 11 months ago, taken into police custody.
Welcome back. You're with 5 News. Let's go back to Damien Bremer live at the police checkpoint just outside North HAVERTON. Damo, you can't get any closer?
No, Katie, this is as far as police are letting anyone get. The fire is raging to my left. The police have set up this checkpoint just behind me to ensure cars are moving at a steady pace along this main road out of town. It's believed a lightning strike, unfortunately, during a summer storm may have sparked this blaze. In this brief statement a short time ago, QFS have admitted the 5 fire fronts in the southeast have put a strain on resources, not to mention that toxic fire in the city. But relief has come in the form of fixed-wing water bombing aircraft and heli-tacs, dumping huge amounts of water from the bulging Ivanhoe Dam. In a sign of how serious this particular front is, all residents in North HAVERTON have been issued with a watch and act alert, advising them to pack the car and be prepared to leave should the word be given. Some residents have already left, but others are adamant they'll defend their homes. Ryan, I'll have more with the Wake Up Australia crew in about 6 hours' time, but for now, it's back to you in Perth.
Thanks, Damo. Still in the air for us is Jace Barker. Jace, have you had a chance to look at that Brisbane fire yet?
The situation keeps getting worse here, Ryan. Unfortunately, massive amounts of delays to the traffic around the entire factory fire as well. Fire is still working hard here. Of course, there are some back streets still closed up as well. Up here with us, some aircraft are reporting serious visibility issues as they approach the Archerfield runway. 5 News understands that a student flight in an Aero Club X E12 has suffered engine problems and reporting 0 visibility while landing. Thankfully, though, the pilot was training on an instrument-only approach and landed safely. But Archerfield is expected to be closed by air traffic control in the next 10 minutes. Ryan, that's the situation at hand for the minute. It's now back to you. We'll pick it up again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jace Barker, for staying up in the air for us.
As we mentioned at the top of the bulletin, it's now been 12 months since our video journalist, Tom Stewart, was attacked and left for dead at a roadworks site on the Williams Highway near Perth. Jason Smith is still at police headquarters and is now joined by Superintendent Barry Jarvis.
Thanks, Katie. Now, Superintendent, I'd like to thank you for your time this evening. Now, I'd like to start, if I may, by asking why it took 45 minutes to reach the incident that night.
Well, based on the information the Operations Centre received, it was more imperative for officers to secure as much evidence as possible. Tom was, for all intents and purposes, a moving crime scene, and with details initially sketchy, police were uncertain as to where Tom was being taken. One unit was dispatched to track him down and another to the roadworks site. Oh, and Jason, I've been unable to confirm the 45-minute delay that you keep mentioning within any of our logs. Also at the hospital, 2 officers gathered a good amount of evidence from Tom. They were also able to take photos of the injuries he sustained before triage staff attended to him. Plus, the incident was still fresh in his mind and a statement was recorded.
Now, we provided the detectives with our camera tape, which was thankfully recovered. Now, they showed the attack and who did it. But as far as I can tell, it's not recorded on any incident log.
Well, that is to be determined. While we're extremely appreciative of Channel 5's cooperation in this investigation, the camera tape was damaged, but it does provide some important elements that have required some attention to detail. I cannot provide any more information than that, given that this is still an open investigation that is heading to court.
Now, another crew was overnight attacked in Melbourne. Now, I understand this is outside of your jurisdiction, but do you have any concerns regarding the pattern that's seemingly developing?
Well, I'm not in a position of the full facts of what happened in Melbourne, and normally it would be highly inappropriate for me to comment about a situation in another jurisdiction. But I can say that I'm concerned about the increasing levels of violence involving this contractor. But at the same time, the media have no more or less rights than any other citizen. They have no special protection, so they should always be aware and vigilant about their own personal safety and security when covering any type of news.
Okay, moving on. Now, private security forces, are they going to come to Perth?
Well, that really is a question that should be answered by the state government, not myself. Suffice to say, I've taken a strong stance against the introduction of private security forces. Policing is a complex and highly accountable profession, and rightly so. Police swear an oath to uphold the law. They have the powers to arrest, to detain people, and at times use force when necessary to protect the community, so that they don't become victims of violent crime. There is no place for privately owned security forces in a democratic society. I mean, who would they be accountable to? And how would all their actions be audited and explained to the public? Now, the Queensland Police have kept all that information under tight wraps. Your state and federal police already have stringent and complex public accountability systems in place.
Now, what do you think of A&A Security's push into the Gold Coast?
I really cannot comment on the situation in another jurisdiction.
Okay, all right, moving on. And finally, sanctuary districts. You have any thoughts?
Well, we should learn from the overseas experience with them. They are not really fulfilling any of the promises, and as a result, they are reduced to nothing more than ghettos, similar to the horrific camps in Europe during World War II. Cesspools of sick, starving people who had no prospects for gainful employment and so turned to crime. We really don't want to go down that route, do we? And I hope we don't repeat the mistakes of history.
As always, Superintendent, thank you for being open and honest with me, always willing to take my emails.
Not a problem, Jason.
Thank you for your time this evening. Ryan?
Jason Smith with Superintendent Barry Jarvis from the Perth Central Major Case Squad.
We go in focus on our sun. That's next on 5 News.
Yeah, Katie, it's been an interesting year for stellar observations and large solar flares and more violent storm activity than ever previously recorded. More details after the break.